The galaxy is burning. Brother fights brother, and treason splits the Imperium of man. This is the Age of Darkness. Welcome to the Remembrancers Retreat, coming to you from within the depths of the Vengeful Spirit.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Remembrancers Retreat, a Warhammer 30k Horus Heresy and Specialist Games podcast. I'm here today with Will and Jason for a brand new exciting segment, which they have decided to call
Crusade and Conquer.
Whoa!
It's a playoff of Command and Conquer, guys. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It sounded good when we decided 5 minutes ago to use it.
I still think it does. Yeah, I still think it does.
It still plays off really well. So, that being said, what is Crusade and Conquer? What is this segment?
So this segment is going to be a Crusade kind of narrative. Not so much battle reports. I mean, you'll get some insight into the battles as they happen, but the way we're going to present them is more of like a story. We want to use... So let's back up, actually. What is the Crusade system? Well, it started off in 40k with 9th edition, and our friends over at Oz30k, Andrew Hollis, he came up with the Great Crusade campaign system, and that is a twist on the Crusade system from 9th edition, spun into 30k. So we've got the core rules for the campaign system, and then we'll also be using the Crusade Bareth. Batreth. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I'm probably butchering it.
I have it right here. Barteth. I think it's Barteth.
Okay.
There.
Yeah. So the Crusade Barteth supplement, and that's going to add a whole bunch more features to it. But the main point of this segment or short run series or whatever we're going to call it is going to be to showcase this new system that I think is going to bring a lot of deep narrative play to games, and we're hoping you guys can get to experience it proxy through us, and then give it a shot yourself if you like the way it sounds from us.
Yeah, definitely. So I know, Will, you and Jason have started off about a week or two ago, giving it a shot with your first game.
Yeah, so, excuse me, that was a little bit of a test game where we kind of went over, we built lists using the rules that are within the Crusade system, and then we did a playthrough of a game, which we'll talk about because it was a very fun game, and there were elements of the Crusade that happened along the way. Mm-hmm. And then we did the experience and the leveling up, and then the death rolls and all that stuff to see how our units would have progressed. But then we found out the Barteth supplement existed, so we want to do it right. If we're going to showcase this, we want to showcase everything Andrew has put forth so far, which is why we're going to actually kick it off with Barteth. Cool. And not our own custom sort of narrative that we were kind of coming up with a little bit on the spot. We had some kind of guidelines on how we wanted it to go, but really it was just going to be on the spot. Barteth has so much stuff into it that it would be a shame not to use it. You know what I mean?
Sure. So for people who do not know exactly even what Crusade mode is, let's talk about that. So from what I've seen, because I'm still fairly new to it as well, and I think Kara and I might actually get into it here pretty soon. Also, that Crusade army looks like basically in a sort of way, almost like a role-playing aspect to army building.
I would definitely say that. After every game session, you are going to do sort of the thing of what you would do during a long rest of a D&D campaign, right? Mm-hmm. Where you'll refit and refuel and regear, and you'll go ahead and you'll level up if any experience points was allotted, or you'll take battle scars if any permanent damage was added. Mm-hmm. But every unit in your army is comprised as a part of this role-playing experience. So you become a little bit more emotionally attached to your units. It's not just, hey, this is a squad of breachers I have. No, this is Squad Dynasties, who is veteran breachers from this battle. These are all the battles they've taken part in. These are all the honor marks they've gotten. This is the battle scars they've suffered. It gets more in depth and kind of personalizes your army in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very cool. So I know, Will, you are playing Mechanicum, I think? Is that right?
I am using my Mechanicum with 2020 being what it was, hard year for everybody. We here at the Remembrance Retreat know that it's been a hard year for everybody, and not everybody's gotten games in, which is another reason why we're doing this, so you can play games proxy through us if you're not able to. But I haven't got to play the Mechanicum really at all during last year.
Sure.
I was talking to Jason, and the last game I played was with you, which was like around New Year's, like a week after New Year's or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. That was a long time ago.
So yeah, it's definitely been a while. It was when the Sabres came out, I remember, whenever that was.
Yeah,
so,
I got to take him out for a little tour.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I've painted up all these guys right before the lockdown, and I really haven't been able to play with them, so I chose the Mechanicum.
Very cool. And what are you playing, Jason?
So, I am playing my brand new, never seen the board before, Alpha Legion. They were a little bit of a vanity project I started out just because, ironically, I'm not a fan typically of that metallic teal scheme that you see a lot with the Alpha Legion. And I've seen people do it spectacularly, just like absolutely gorgeously. But in the same way, I'm not a huge fan of the metallic red Thousand Suns. Like mine are a super dark, like matte wine red. I wanted to see if I could do something a little different, a little darker, a little bluer. Mm-hmm. And I figured out that a lot of people that like alternative Alpha Legion schemes like to do like an Efreet stealth squad, which was like, Omegon's half.
Yeah.
So I essentially started these guys out just to see if I could make this darker blue color scheme work. And I realized that once I did a whole bunch of models that were like dark blue and steel trim and black, that they weren't super interesting to look at. Mm-hmm. So then I was like, all right, what's the brightest, most neon-ass color I can use here to like bring some interest back in? And my first thought was pink, and that's a little too far even for me. So I settled on like this fluorescent lime green.
Yeah.
Which is, absolutely the wrong direction to go for a stealth squad, but it looks pretty striking next to like this dark blue and black that most of my little alpha dudes are.
Yeah. And I think we have a few of the pictures of your army on our Instagram at remembrancers_retreat. Check it out.
Yeah, because they got awesome little like crystals on their bases and stuff like that, and their weapons, and I mean the green really does add a bit of something to it. I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I try. It looks really good for all like those toxic, like rad weapons I try to work into the Mortalis Force.
Yeah. So let's talk about army composition. Like, what points are you guys playing at right now?
Okay, so initially, Andrews has in his rule a good starting point system of 500. However, Jason and I both sat down and we couldn't write lists that had the staple characters and that we want, right? Like, so I have an Arlatax named Zero, and Zero has been in the army since he was a member of the Iron Hands, right? He was my first Mechanicum model ever. And Zero's an awesome little Arlatax, and I love him to death, and I wanted him in here, but it was hard to fit him, an HQ, and a troop into 500 points. So, talked with Jason, and we were able to, we agreed that 1,000 points to start was going to be our starting point.
Yeah, and plus, you guys are, seasoned heresy players, so, 1,000 points wasn't going to bog you down per se.
Right, and, it's already painted stuff. So it's now if you're doing a slow grow, I definitely think 500 points is a perfect place to start. It's definitely great to get you a good HQ, a troop, and maybe another special unit. You can definitely do that,
Get yourself a little elite or heavy support.
Yeah, exactly. So when you assemble a Crusade force, you will have everything written down on Crusade cards. And these Crusade cards are kind of, I guess, again, we're going to reference D&D a lot probably during this because it's a great analog. It's basically your character cards, right? That is where you write down all the information about the squad or the hero or the vehicle or whatever it is. And you put that onto 2 different cards. You have your first one, which is your order of battle. That is your entire Crusade army right there is on your order of battle. Your order of battle is your master army list. So let's say you have 1,300 points worth of models on that Crusade list. Mm-hmm. If you're playing a game of 1,000 points, you're still going to be able to draw or play a game of 1,000 points, but you have a 1,300 point pool to pull from. So maybe one of those units is a tank, and you're like, well, we're about to do Zone Mortalis, so I'll leave the tank out for this battle, and I'll substitute in my Seeker squad instead.
So it's similar to a Battlefleet Gothic roster.
Yes, yeah, very similar in that sense. I mean, another great example of a great campaign system that lessons have been learned from those past campaign systems and brought into these new ones. So your order of battle is your master roster, and then every unit gets its own Crusade card. This is units, everybody who is their own. So your apothecaries will have their own, your tactical squads will have their own, your heroes, your monster screech, everybody's going to have their own. It doesn't go down to the individual marine in a squad, but it does go down to the squad at the squad level.
Yeah, the unit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where you'll keep track of your experience points, your upgrades, your battle scars, your relics, all that other stuff, your kill tallies, your agendas. And it's a great way to track everything, because without these cards, I mean, you just have a notebook you can scribble in. But for me, I can't do that. I'm way too chaotic when I scribble, and it'll be all over the place, and I wouldn't be able to read or understand what I had written the previous month. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So, and name characters and agents, they don't have to have Crusade cards.
Okay.
They can't advance. I mean, they are just who they are, right? So, again, that encourages you to build your own Praetor and build his legacy up, as opposed to taking Shadrach Medusan for his buff of, Raise the Storm.
Right, because it's not about that. It's about your story.
Exactly, yeah.
I see.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, honestly, Raise the Storm pales in comparison to some of the other stuff you can get in these things. I mean, they are... We'll get later into the relics, but the upgrades and the relics that you can combine to make some of the craziest, insane killing units. But on the opposite side, your opponent, who's also been doing the same thing, they've also got that, like, crazy upgrades and that kind of stuff. So there is balance in that sense.
Very cool. So let's talk about your armies. You say you guys got about 1,000 points right now going on. Will, what does your army look like?
So my army is led by a Magos Dominus. I am running, what is it? Mechanicum, oh my gosh, I can't remember. The Cybertheurgy boys, what are they? Jason, help me out here.
Legio Cybernetica.
There it is, thank you. I play Mechanicum, guys, trust me, I do, okay? I just don't do it often. So Legio Cybernetica, they had like a cheap HQ. And then I could bring Zero, so it just buffs Zero also. Zero was the hero of this story. Well, as you'll find out in the battle report, he was supposed to be the hero of the story. He, spoiler alert, was not the hero of the story. So I have a Magos Dominus, and that is Dominus Castor, with a K, because it's me. And then we have Castellax 1 TAC 3, which are a Castellax unit of 3, and their names are 1, 2, and 3. And then we have Thalax 32 Alpha, and that is a 6-man squad of Thalax, which are all basic currently, trying to push points. And then we have Zero, and he's in our attacks with Paragon of Metal and the whip, that Armorbane whip.
Gotcha.
And that's my list.
Coming in around 1,000 points.
Yeah, I think I'm at 995 maybe. I think I might have gotten like a pistol or something to make myself right at 1,000.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the upgrades at the beginning are very sparse because I'm just trying to put bodies in. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
upgrades are very limited.
Gotcha. Just kind of beef up the unit count.
Exactly.
What about you, Jason? What does your army of Alpha Legion look like?
Oh boy. All right, let's see if I can do this from memory here. So, first off, the thing I've wanted to try more than anything for a while now is a Mortifactor in ZM. And it was just as much fun as I thought it was going to be. So, first off, for HQs, I've got two. I've got a Mortifactor with 2 Cordis Contemptor Dreadnoughts, both with Toxiferno cannons and Dreadnought close combat weapons with heavy flamers. Seen as how my Alpha Legion, I refer to them as a heavy execution cadre. They're the guys that you always think of the Alpha Legion as like these stealthy assassins, like Poison Blade in the night or, sniping a guy from miles away. My guys are the guys that go in when a target needs to be eliminated, and he's like, oh shit, the Alpha Legion are coming. I'm going to hide in the middle of this fortified bunker. My guys are the dudes that go in with dreadnoughts and automata, tear that bunker open, reduce that guy to a mushy paste, and call it job done.
Oh, so like Dark Angels.
Yeah, like Dark Angels. But
They wrote the RP Dark Angels, I guess.
yeah.
Sorry, I had to do it.
Oh, no worries.
But it's definitely like a good polar of Alpha Legion, right? Because, I mean, let's look at other recent spy movies that have come, like Tenet, right? You have the aspects of that where it's like very undercover James Bond type, and then you have the polar opposite where they're still part of Tenet, but they're like breaching doors and kicking in and using missile launchers and shit like that. Sometimes you got to do these hard knocks, which is exactly what I think your guys do perfectly.
Thank you. I try.
And then the Men in Black come in with a neuralizer, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
That is apropos.
Yep. But yeah, back to your army.
Right, no worries. So then I've got a librarian. His name's Sul Shin, and he has, he's a level 2 biomancer. Anybody in our general gaming group know I am a sucker for a librarian. I know the internet wisdom at large is, single librarian's useless because you only get 2 power dice, which is 2 plus d6 more power dice than your opponent's going to get. So they can actually get some pretty good work done. I'm a very big fan of them so far. So that's why I've worked one into both this list and the one I'm putting together for my Trader White Scars.
Gotcha. Now, okay, with the librarian, do you have another HQ with that, or?
Yeah, the Mortifactor.
Oh, the Mortifactor. Yep.
So,
so who's your more like leader of the group?
Oh, the Mortifactor.
Okay.
Most definitely. The librarian is the hilarious little weasel, and he is just exemplified that in the game Will and I had.
Yeah, he was wild.
It worked. Like, I lost so hard, and I have never had so much fun doing it. It was great. So then, moving on for troops, we've got a 10-man breacher Marine squad, and they're pretty low geared. They just have a Vexilla and a sergeant with a power weapon, an artificer armor, and a breaching charge. And I love this guy so much because I've only used him a few times, and every single time so far he has missed with the breaching charge and dropped it square at his feet, killed everyone around him, and yet miraculously survived. It's terrific. Then we've got a single apothecary to go in with those breachers, and then we've got 5 seekers in fast attack. And that rounds me off for, I think, right about the same. I think I'm right at 1,000.
So are you sticking to a single rite of war, or are you flexing depending on the scenario?
I think I'm going to try really hard to bend into like bring more flexibility.
Yeah, I'm thinking of dropping Cybernetica personally. Like, I understand for this smaller games, he's a cheap HQ. but I don't like big robots. You know, I love the Thalax. I have so many Thalax, so I might, once we start going and kind of. But then again, I think that goes against the narrative. If he's my hero, I don't know. We'll have to decide that. You know,
I mean, big robots are never bad to have.
It's true, especially when they got the upgrade that I got at the end. So, yeah, wild stuff.
So going in, so starting with a Crusade game, there are no Crusade power-ups at the start, right?
Okay, so yes, let's continue on then. So once you've written your list and you have your order of battle assembled and all your Crusade cards going on, you then look at currencies that are in the game. So you have your points, but the main currency you'll be spending throughout it is requisition. And you'll start off the Crusade with 5 requisition.
Okay.
Requisition allows you to do all kinds of things. You can field promote somebody, take them from a lieutenant to a praetor. You can increase your supply limit, so your list isn't. Oh Jesus, guys, a centurion. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my God! Please do not.
What kind of podcast do you think this is, sir?
I don't know. All right, I'm leaving. I'm done. I'll.
This is not an Applebee's.
I will go to Dagobah and isolate myself there. You can increase your supply limit, so if you want to, bump up and have like an auxiliary unit of Thalax on hand, you can add 200 points, and every 100 points you add to your battle roster is going to cost you 1 RP. You can do fresh recruits, which, let's say you have a 10-man squad, you can bump them up to a 20-man squad. You can do psychic meditation, where you can relearn your powers. You can do rearm and assemblies, which is where you'll kind of be taken. You'll refit. So if you're out of battle, that kind of stuff. That's repair and recuperate is the remove battle scars. Rearm and resupply is to change your unit's war gear. And then your warlord traits are going to cost 1 RP. So you don't automatically get a warlord trait.
Okay.
You'll have to spend 1 RP for it. And remember, you start with 5. So generally, you'll use just 1 RP at the beginning, which is to buy a warlord trait. And then after that, you kind of then start spending them as games go on. You earn 1 RP at the end of every game. And I can't remember off the top of my head if you earn I don't think you earn an additional 1 if you win. Maybe you do, but I don't think you do. I'd have to go back over and look at that. But you definitely get 1 for each battle you've completed.
Okay, and looking at this, it looks like you never have more than 5 requisition points at any time.
So use that's another reason why you want to buy that first warlord trait in your first game, or before your first game. That way, when you play that first game, you don't automatically waste your first RP.
Gotcha,
right?
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then you get into the battles itself. So when you form your army, right? So you have your battle roster of however many points, and then from that, you can select your game sizes. So we can play, like, if we have 1,000 points, we can play any game size within that 1,000 points, but we can't exceed that. And if your battle roster, as I said earlier, is above that, then you can't play more than what you've agreed on. So even though your battle roster might have 1,300 points, you can only play 1,000, whatever you agree on.
Gotcha.
Now, if at any point your Crusade force has more experience than another Crusade force, we'll get into Crusade points in a second. But every advancement that your guys get, they add 1 onto their Crusade point cost. And what that does, it's a balancing feature. So if I have a Crusade force that is 50 points, and then Jason has a Crusade force of 51, then I will get 1 free Crusade dice. And that can be used to reroll a hit, to wound, an armor cover save, or to reroll an armor cover save, or even invul save, reroll a charge, or leadership test. It's just a free dice that you can reroll once per game per dice.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Save it pretty handy for your warlord, I guess.
Or
really
and then you
anything,
have
but yeah.
agendas. And your agendas are your kind of extra little bits that you'll choose. And it's one agenda per 750 points or part thereof. So if you're doing 1,000 points, you're going to get 2 agendas to choose. You choose these agendas, and these agendas will offer you special bonuses or experience if you complete them. So they're your secondary objectives, pretty much.
Gotcha.
And, winning a game grants you extra experience. What is it? Hold on. Yeah, additional experience, free upgrades, bonus resources, that sort of thing.
Okay. It feels very similar to, what was it called for the independent characters in 30K?
They had their own, not Blood in the Void. It was right after the Blood in the Void section, though, of that book.
I forget what it's called.
But it was the same thing where you would roll a table and you would add +1 to your toughness or strength or something like that.
And you would have requisition points to add. Yeah. Very,
so it's
very
that,
similar.
but it's for your whole army now.
Gotcha.
And victory bonuses, they're pretty nice. So if you do win, you do get 2 requisition points, like I thought, instead of just the 1. If you're victorious, you can select 2 units to be marked for greatness instead of just 1. We'll get down to marked for greatness later. You can upgrade a battle trait, all sorts of things. There's like 6 different ones, and you can select one of the 6.
Gotcha.
And then you'll do your battle. You'll mark down everything, remember everything that happens, remember your agendas, remember the battle experience that you have. And then you do your post-battle sequence. And the first part of the post-battle sequence is taken out of action.
Victory is Vengeance. Victory is Vengeance. That's what it was.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. That's what it was.
Continue.
So out of action. If a unit is completely destroyed, you'll roll a d6. On a 1, you'll pick one of the 2. It'll either be a devastating blow or a battle scar. And to note, no unit is ever permanently taken out of the fight from your battle roster. A devastating blow, you just lose d6 experience points. You cannot gain any experience points of any source, including agendas you might have achieved even, or battle experience, or you can't be marked for greatness because you were laid low that fight. So how would you be marked for greatness if? Yeah,
you were on the ground for half of that. Yeah. Come on.
Or this is a nice one. Are battle scars. Rather than take the hit on experience, you can take a battle scar, which will be a detriment to the unit that'll last forever.
Oh, forever?
You randomly determine which one it is, but you don't lose experience, so that's a trade-off, right?
Gotcha. Some of these can be kind of rough, like losing 1 inch on movement.
Yeah.
Including run and charge rolls. Wow.
And to note, you can't have more than 6 battle scars. If you've got a unit that has died 6 times, like completely been wiped out, it might be time to sub him in with somebody else. You know what I mean? Yeah. If Zero continues to fucking stumble in doorways, I'm going to get somebody else.
Like I said, or choose not gain any experience.
Oh, right. Exactly. Yeah.
So, if you're trying to shoot for that real nice, extra bonuses you get, it's like, screw it. I'll roll a d6 and take what comes my way.
And then you have
wow.
Yeah, you have battle honors, which are given to units who gain experience points. And every time you gain a battle honor, you increase your crusade point. As I mentioned earlier, every unit has a crusade point cost. You'll increase that unit's crusade point by 1. So you can get battle traits, which are like new skills and abilities. You can get Psychic Fortitude, which are boosts to the unit's psychic might. So Thousand Suns, Jason's Librarian. Or you can do the simple tried and true and tested is weapon enhancements. Those are always great to upgrade war gear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. This sounds really cool.
Yeah. Experience points. You'll earn them through battle experience. So every time a unit participates, you're going to get 1 experience. If a unit is marked for greatness, it'll gain 3 experience. If it's a death dealer, you'll gain 1 experience for every 3rd enemy unit that has been destroyed. So if you have and this is cumulative, not just for that game.
Oh, for
keep
the
track
whole
of
campaign.
all their kills, right?
Oh, cool.
So every 3 units it kills, it gets another experience point. And then you have your agenda achieved. If you complete your agenda, you get the experience points listed on the agenda.
Yeah, this is really cool.
And after that, we then go to our experience points. You have 0 to 5 is battle ready, and that is 0 battle honors. You're still basic. You're still learning. 6 to 15 is bloodied. That's 1 battle honor. 16 to 30 is battle honored, and that's 2 battle honors. 31 to 50 is heroic. 51 or above is legendary, and that's 4 battle honors. Heroic is 3 battle honors, by the way.
Okay. Wow.
So the experience points, the fact that they'll carry over, and things like death dealers where you keep track of kills and that kind of stuff are very important, which again all goes on your Crusade cards.
Gotcha. Yeah, when you got 51 experience points to go to legendary, you can take these armies for the long haul.
Absolutely. My one of my units earned 10 experience points in one game.
Oh wow! Okay.
They achieved both of the agendas.
Spoilers.
They got They got death dealers, and they were marked for greatness. I mean, you can get a lot of experience points at once.
Gotcha. Very cool.
So Crusade Appendix, this kind of stuff, just kind of go. So there is an appendix in the book here, and that's more drilled down rules. That talks about attached units, how apothecaries may attach to a unit permanently for the game, but they still need their own card. They're still going to level up on their own.
Okay.
Combined units. So at 500 points, you can kind of play Vengeance is Victory, or whatever that is.
Victory is Vengeance.
Right, where it's kind of like a kill team, sort of.
Uh-huh.
And you can do mixed units. So combined units talks about in that event, when you do a combined unit, it has rules for that. There are faction-specific honors, relics, scars, and traits, which, again, that is shown in Barteth. You have reinforcements. So sometimes, let's say, I have 1,500 points in my order of battle. Jason only still has 1,000, but we really want to play a 1,500-point game. He can take 500 units as a reinforcement, and this will count as your your allied attachment for Crusade Force.
Gotcha.
And they don't earn experience. They're just there for the battle to help, and then they leave.
Neat.
Split units. So let's say, the Dreadnought Talons, right?
Uh-huh.
They'll deploy as one unit, but then they act independently. Rather than writing those all down together as one, they'll each get to upgrade on their own. So they each get their own card.
Okay. It's like squadrons, basically.
Well, no, because squadrons are all one unit. They can't separate.
That's true. You're right. Like a squadron of tanks can't separate, but a squadron of, or a talon of dreadnoughts can.
Yeah. Summon units, things like demons, they don't upgrade.
Okay. Makes sense.
And then we have agendas, and these are pretty cool. I won't break down into each of them, but you have battlefield supremacy. These ones talk about holding objectives, or surviving a battle, or breaking the enemy's lines, that sort of thing. No mercy, no respite. These are ones where you're really trying to fucking kill somebody. Like hordes,
sure.
For example. Here's one that I will go into. Cull the hordes. Keep a tally of your army. Add 1 unit to Cull the hordes for each time you destroy 6 or more models in the same phase. So against militia, you may choose the agenda Cull the hordes, where you're just killing fucking mortals and racking up experience points for doing that. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Purge the enemy is the next one, and that's like headhunting, where you're going after specific targets.
Gotcha.
Killing HQs or monstrous creatures or specific tanks and that kind of stuff. And then we go into shadow operations is the next one. I haven't delved too deep into that personally. I don't know, Jason, have you looked at them much?
A little bit, but yeah, admittedly, not a whole bunch. Comparatively, those are the ones that are a lot more objective based, right?
Yeah, more like table control versus...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you do have that. I'm sorry I can't go too much into that. I haven't really looked over it too much. I know that's faux pas on my part. But it'll be things against psychers, or you can like deploy Vox relays or search for archaeotech. So sometimes you'll need to find relics, right? And you can do the action of a search for an archaeotech, which is you'll get experience points and archaeotech that way. So those are other things that you need to keep track of. And then we move on to the good part, in my opinion. This is when like all the narrative stuff starts happening. These are like the battle scars and the battle honors you can get.
Gotcha.
So every type, independent characters, monstrous creatures, vehicles, and then all your other infantry unit types or bikes and that kind of stuff, they've all got a D6 effect. And Jason and I agreed to roll for these. I think most of the time, narratively, people want to kind of pick them. But I like the idea of the randomness to it.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I would say for sure. Rolling.
Because, hey, you might get something great. Or especially if you're rolling for a battle scar, that definitely should be random, I think. You know,
Yes,
I don't think you would
definitely.
want to pick like this leader or this guy already has high leadership, so I'm just going to choose the loss of leadership because it won't really affect him too much.
Right.
Like, nah, roll that shit, man.
Yep.
I always think it's better to roll because you're not building an army to make it effective. You're not creating an army. You're finding out who your army is.
Oh, that's beautiful, dude.
I like that.
That is, yeah.
That's why I really liked the old school Warhammer Fantasy RPG, because you had to roll for absolutely everything. Like from your stats down to like whether you had like a lazy eye and a bad smell or not.
Oh
and
my
it gave
God.
this terrific feeling of you weren't building a character, you were figuring out what sorry sack of crap in Warhammer Old World you were going to play. Like, you were just like picking a dude at random out of like the hundreds of thousands of citizens. Like, that's the dude that gets, that you get to play with. You're not making one from scratch. You're finding out who he is.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's a great breakdown, man. And the thing, it carries over to battle traits too, right? That is also a D6 system because, again, as Jason said, we're finding out who this person is or who these units are. And again, they break down into the 4 independent characters, monstrous creatures. Independent characters, when I say that, it also includes your characters, apothecaries and stuff like that. Your monstrous creatures, gargantuan creatures, your vehicles, and your all other units. And this is like some good stuff, right? So like you gain Crusader or Fearless or Counterattack or Feel No Pain or a +1 to your Feel No Pain. It basically will give you additional special rules onto the unit. Some really good ones, I think. What is it? The Thickened Hide for monstrous creatures. The gaining the +1 to any Feel No Pain, or 6 if you don't have one. That's awesome. Again, 0 has a Feel No Pain, so if I could get him a +1, that'd be cool.
Oh yeah.
And then you have Psychic Fortitude, and these are where you can boost your fucking psychers. All right, so
it's a D3
you talk
table,
about
too.
like one single psycher. Jason talked about like how people are like, no, just one psycher. He's only got the 2 warp charges. Well, bam, dude, Psychic Might will give you +1 warp charge. Bam, right there. Adamantium Will and Master of Lore, so the Psychic generates an additional psychic power. And that's not to mention, then, you can give him weapon enhancements to make him an even better psyker when he does finally get into melee. So weapon enhancements, super heavy and gargantuan creatures, they'll roll a 1d3. Okay, so real quick, weapon enhancements break down to ranged weapons and melee weapons.
Okay.
Obviously, the 2 types we have.
Follow.
So super heavies and gargantuans get 1d3. Monsters or vehicles will get 1d6. Characters roll both 1d3 and 1d6. Everybody else just rolls. And keep in mind, characters get both of those. So a d3 and a d6, they get both.
Oh, okay.
And everybody else just gets a single d6.
Gotcha.
And this is stuff like Mastercrafted, improved AP, +1 strength, +1 ballistic skill, Twin Link? Yes, sir. Thank you. A fucking
hello.
10-man squad of Volkites getting twin linked? Yes, sir. Don't mind if I do. Melee weapons, same thing. Mastercrafted, improved armor value, strength, weapon skill, poison, shred, and duelist. Oh, actually, shit, I didn't see this one. Duelist weapon. The weapon gains the duelist edge special rule. And we all know that from the little saber you can take.
Yeah, that's the +1 initiative when you're attacking with that.
Well, I think is that the one that is +1 initiative, or is it +1 initiative and rend?
Hey, it's +1 initiative in a challenge.
Okay. So, I guess it's just the saber itself that has the chance to rend. Is that it? It's not part of Duelist Edge.
Yeah.
Charnel Saber? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I play this game, guys. I swear, just not often. Okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And then we go into Crusade artifacts, and this is where some stuff starts out pretty normal. You know, psi resonators, lances, range viewers, lucidity injectors, conversion fields.
Psi Arcana stuff.
That's when you start to see the stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
And these are your recovered artifacts. So characters ranked up. Now keep in mind, characters ranked up above battle ready may claim a recovered artifact, and that's one of these initial ones. And you have mysterious artifacts. And these are heroic rank, may claim mysterious artifacts. Then we get into like Dark Age Displacer Belt, Friend Zone Injectors, Warp Shunt Fields, Nanite Blasters. Oh yeah, the Nanite Blaster.
Good old times.
And then you have your legendaries. And of course, characters rank, got to be legendaries. And for every legendary artifact, you're going to add 2 to their Crusade point cost. And you also have to pay a requisition to take a legendary. But that's where you're going to find things like the Divining Blade, Phase Walker, that sort of thing. The really high-end relics are going to come from here. And then you go into Armory relics, and these are Artificer upgrades. So again, as we mentioned earlier, you can do actions to find this sort of stuff. And these Artificer upgrades are upgrades that add a permanent boost to your individual. Let's see. The first one here is Bionics, Artisan Bionics. So given to a character who has suffered battle scars, and then what is it? Reduce wounds to 0. Immediately roll on the battle scar table. Corresponding location replace with the Bionic. The character regains a single wound and is not removed. So yeah, little things like that, right? Laurels of Victory, Mastercrafted Armor. And then we have Relics of Antiquity, which are characters of heroic rank, and then they add 1 to their Crusade. So that's really like all the narrative stuff, all the advancement stuff.
Yeah, and this is just the base.
Yeah. Now, I haven't had a chance to really dig into the stealing of Barteth yet. But there's even more stuff. And that's when he introduces agents. So you can take like Necromunda gangers as agents for your army, which is awesome.
Right. So I know we're running a little bit long here, guys. So we're going to save the story of the game for another time. But instead of leaving right now, I'm going to play an interview I had with Colin from Cold Open Stories, which, if you haven't heard, is a fan-based audio drama / fan fiction group that is focused on Warhammer 40K and all sorts of other Warhammer stuff. They also do a little bit of heresy on the side, too, which is really cool. I had the pleasure of talking with him last week, and so here is the interview. Hope you enjoy.
I fire off the hip and dodge back behind the ship's hull. Push the Qatari I weaken away and take the blast to the chest. They move like puppets on strings. Only way to stop them, kill the puppet master. We exchange shots. Another torrent of snow blasts our field of fire, and I begin racing wide, heading for my dropship. I'm a few meters from the open bulkhead when I fold over and start convulsing as the world is kicked out from under me. Pain is racing through my abdomen, and I look down. The snow is stained red. And my right leg isn't where it's supposed to be. The woman bends down to me while I'm spasming in pain. She plucks the empty pistol from the snow and places her middle finger on my forehead. You bitch!
You are now my property.
What?
Hey everybody, I'm here today with Colin from Cold Open Stories.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing pretty well, Colin. So I came across you guys maybe roughly about 8 or 9 months ago. I can't quite remember, but I found that you guys do Warhammer fan audio dramas. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do. I mean, heaven forbid you get the wrong Colin on the show. You're like, oh, no, we actually don't. No, we do. We do. So we've been doing this for just about 2 years now. And so Cold Open Stories is actually a creative, I'll say a conclave of different creators who've come together to expand and tell stories that maybe otherwise would not have had the opportunity in a official capacity. Mm-hmm. What you could think of, just a fancy way of saying, is fan fiction, but really good. And that's kind of our intent and our mission. With Cold Open Stories, we have the audio dramas, which are not the same as audio books, just for your listeners to understand that there is quite a difference between the two.
It's like a movie in your mind.
Exactly. It is a theater of the mind. It is full cast recordings. We've had people who have worked professionally in voice acting. We have amateur and emerging artists, but everywhere between, someone who just picked up a microphone and has a love of doing fun voices to performers from Black Library, Nickelodeon. We've got a wonderful group of diverse actors who've helped us tell these 40K stories.
Excellent. And so, I know you guys focus mostly on 40K. Mm-hmm. So what do you have recently down the line as far as stories? If people have never heard of you, where should they start?
Well, if they haven't started yet, the first thing I'd recommend is go to coldopenstories.com and go to the audio drama section. And when I say 40K, it's a bit of a misnomer. We have stories that take place from the full range of, from the Horus Heresy up until after the opening of the Great Rift. Now on the website, you'll find the audio dramas as well as short fiction and our fast fiction contests that we run as well. And a new thing that has just come out this month, which is our writing game, which I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about later.
Sure.
But the audio dramas stuff that's recently come out, we had a series of episodes for Ag Trill, the Counterfeit Blade, which was a Eldar story that took place during the War in Heaven. So the ancient Eldari versus the Necrons, and it works in a timeline that is also with the modern day, what's happening with the Necrons and the Eldar now. And those two stories kind of intermingle and merge, because anytime you're dealing with long-lived races like that, of course, there's going to be some memory and time travel and psychic shenanigans that they're going to be getting up to. And then we have two new audio dramas that'll be coming out in the coming weeks and months. We've got Hounds of Bedlam, which is a heretic or a traitor guardsman story. A bunch of soldiers who are trying to stop their commanding officer, his soul, from passing over into the Immaterium, and they're on a mission to try to stop that by any means necessary in true heretical fashion. And then we have Yesterday's News, which is a kind of a paranoid thriller of a person whose job is to read the radio. She's a radio newsreader for the Vox radio network, effectively, on this world. And she has every reason to be happy getting this job until she starts to discover more truths about the propaganda and the conflict that she's been led to grow up under. And so it's a bit of a kind of a paranoid mystery, and that'll be coming out, and that's a standalone.
That sounds really cool. I guess one of the things that really grabbed my attention with Cold Open Stories is on the website, just how clean and professional looking it is. And just the overall look and the sound, you guys really put a lot of effort into the content that comes out.
I mean, I'll put it this way again. Fan fiction often gets a bad rap. And so when you have people who are at the top of their game creatively and we're professionals, we want to bring that same authenticity to the work. Mm-hmm. Specifically with the audio dramas, we want to sound like you're there. So a lot of effort has gone into designing our own Foley, sound effects. The full scripts are original. This is not the equivalent of hopping on YouTube and listening to someone read out of a codex for an hour and a half.
I don't know. What are you talking about?
This is definitely, we're trying to fill a niche that is completely separate to that.
Sure.
And with this, we're just trying to make sure that we're able to tell stories worth telling that people may not have otherwise had the opportunity for. One of the first audio dramas we did was about a person whose whole job was a acoustic receiver, and their job is just to listen for, spaceborne anomalies as a early defense system for this satellite network in the Imperium. You will not get that in the big bombastic, realm of Warhammer until recently with things like, the Warhammer Crime Line or Warhammer Horror, where, we've been doing this for 2 years. And when those releases started to come out, we were very excited, and we have a lot of our collaborators who've done writing and short stories for the site. And it's just this great, small but mighty community of creators who are doing something really unique with the IP in an unofficial capacity.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Roughly about how large of a group do you think you have as far as writers and artists and creators?
Well, in terms of actors, I mean, some of the auditions that we've done will minimum bottom out at about 300 to 400 voice actors who will and actresses will apply for these. The listening audience, I stopped keeping track, admittedly, at a certain point. With writers, our fiction on the site is divided in two ways. We have short fiction, which are 5,000 to 8,000 word short stories. And we also have the fast fiction contest, which is one theme, 1,000 words, one winner. And that's a bi-monthly contest. And I will say everything that gets submitted does not get published to the site. We do have a internal editorial that works to help groom the best stories or to pick out the winners for these contests with our judging team. But it's not the quantity, it's the quality. I mean, we have the quantity, but what really matters to us is saying, is this unique? Is this a story that would have helped thrust someone into a setting or world that they never would have expected? Were they able to build up a sense of danger, humor, and mystery quickly? I mean, the whole reason that we're called cold open stories is it's that storytelling technique which throws the reader directly into the action, and it's a love letter to old radio dramas and pulp fiction that has the power to quickly throw us into a new world and encourage us to reflect on, how does that make me feel, and the emotion and just getting wrapped up. I remember as a kid, I would find these old, they're old now. I'm old now. But what we would find is these, they had those old Star Wars books, for example. It's like the encyclopedia, or you'd pick up a video game and there would be a book in the case, and it would have these little stories and background fluff. And you're just like, you get lost to it, and it becomes this whole alternate world when you're a kid. And with the professionalism we're trying to do, with the site design, with the audio productions and the editorial, we're trying to create that same sense of immersion.
That's very cool. So, like you mentioned, you had short fiction, fast fiction contests, audio dramas, and it looks like you have something new on the site. Something about a writing game.
Yes. So I'm very excited about this, clearly. So Inquisitor Doctrina Malum is a unofficial, immersive, collaborative fiction game set in Warhammer 40,000. The best way to explain this shorthand for people who are into sort of AARPGs, this is like the SCP Foundation for 40K. is kind of the shorthand way of describing.
Sure.
There's this old ancient Terran, society that helped protect humanity. Well, it's probably gone through a metamorphosis, but what we've done is kind of leverage that same system of storytelling. So when users come to the site and they register, they assume the identity of an agent of the Inquisition. From there, they either read or write articles, which are their epistolary narratives, their first-hand accounts of different threats, or what they can do is they can go into the missions, which are these creative writing contests where there is a fully voice-acted prompt from the Lord Inquisitor of that Ordo, who gets them to kind of go on an adventure, take a story, and they'll give them a prompt to go write about something that they want them to investigate or to see or to interrogate. And in a few short weeks, we'll also be having game prompts that you can include into your well, your framework, when the doors open, it's safe to do so, going out and playing games, that these prompts will also have ways of playing the scenarios. And we'll be looking at having a special 30K related scenario coming out sometime in the summer that kind of allows us to play with both game systems.
That's exciting. I like the fact that you can choose between 3 different ordos, I guess, depending on what type of nature, I guess, threat you're encountering.
Absolutely. So if you are, if you're one of the brutal, dogmatic enforcers of the Imperium, you're probably going to feel right at home with the Ordo Hereticus, the people who hunt after witches and mutants and heretics and traitors. The leader of that Ordo is Onzidius Aspar, a very old, uncompromising man who is getting up in years and realizes that, when he eventually passes away, because even the science of the Imperium can do so much, he realizes that, he's getting older. He will become vulnerable. The Imperium will become vulnerable. So some of the missions that he provides that are collaborative with the community is, you'll receive a prompt from him. Everyone will submit their missions. And then because the way that the, life in 40K is, where records have multiple retellings, or they're fragmented, or they are contrary retellings of the same thing, all the entries by users will come together. He will present them to the community, and then the community actually votes for what they feel should be the canonized or sanctified true story. From there, what we do is we say, okay, that's the official line that we're going with. The character of Onzidius will then provide the next mission prompt using elements from that story to carry the narrative forward. So it is 100% a living, evolving narrative for both writers and soon players to immerse themselves in.
It's very wild, and I'm really excited to check this out for sure.
It's a lot of late hours and forgetting the faces of our family members for days on end, but we're really excited with what we've been able to put together here. The site is full of original artwork as well from different members of the 40K community, and we're just really excited to be bringing some cool things together. I mean, we've only been open for a couple days, really, and taking a look at which ordos are becoming more popular than others, or to seeing which ones are getting the most submissions, it's kind of blowing away some of our expectations of what we were seeing. And also, for listeners, we are having kind of a launch party, I guess, as it were, that for anyone who registers before February 15th will be entered into a contest to win a $100 Games Workshop virtual voucher. And if they submit an article before the same date, they are entered into another draw for another $100 Games Workshop virtual voucher. So we just want people to come in, read if you're so inclined, if you're feeling creative or you have some lore from, your own faction or your own background. There is no locked in timeline for this. These are Inquisitors all working across the full range of the Imperium, unearthing old tomes or finding new threats. There's a lot of room to play in the sandbox.
I know a few of us here at the retreat would be more than happy to register and partake in this. We got a few people who just write paragraphs and novels worth of lore. So
I mean, I think that's the great thing is that, anyone who writes, you can consider yourself a writer, really. You put pen to paper or finger to keyboard and you put in that act of creativity. There's always value in that. And whether it is working within the sphere of our short fiction or fast fiction contest, something that is more under the publishing arm, or whether it's something that you want to kind of dabbling, get your toes wet and work in these articles or missions, there is a lot of room to grow. People are able to comment, and they've actually done so in character, speaking to each other, which is fantastic for immersion, I have to say. Sure. But we also do have our small but mighty community of reviewers and supporting editors who are on our Discord that people can drop in, say, hey, here's something that I'm writing. They get feedback, because the whole purpose of all of this is, we love Warhammer, we love the setting, and we want people to be able to explore it in a different way. To say, if you're feeling an inkling creative about acting or writing, this is somewhere that you can come in and feel that, you can interact with the setting in a meaningful and unique way.
Very cool. So, Colin, tell me about yourself. What got you into Warhammer and what got you into creating cold open stories?
Oh, God.
Sorry. Let me just pull out this bat and hit you with this question.
Right. Well, so when I was in I was probably, it was like junior high or something. A friend of mine, her boyfriend played Warhammer. And so I went to the local game shop. I went in there and she's like, yeah, you two would be, you two should play. And so he was playing orcs and they had some Space Marines that I could pick up and play. And then he absolutely just wiped the floor with me. It wasn't even a friendly game. It was just like, so here's how the rules work. And then continued to undermine every decision to kick my ass. And that was my first introduction.
As most intro games I've seen start out with.
So fast forward then several years, and 8th edition has just come out. And I don't even remember how it happened, but either I was walking by the store or I saw something on like a board game forum. I don't really remember, but it was the model of Belisarius Cawl. And I was like, that is wild. And so I went out, bought it, and said, this is who I am now. I will become a miniature painter and modeler, and very quickly found that it's very easy when you hop online to have these big aspirations, and then you feel very self-conscious when you see people doing incredible stuff, and you go, what about my mediocrity? And I started thinking about that a lot and going, well, everyone has to start somewhere, and no one just picks up and is a master, or very few do. And I started to think about the things that, I enjoyed or what I was good at. And for me, it was a little bit of writing. I worked with a prominent 40K podcast and coming up with some ideas and working with them. And after several months of that, it was just nagging at me of like, I want to do something really creative, not just a review of one thing or talking about a rumor, image that came out for a while. I want to do something unique. And I had always had a love for old time radio plays. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go listen to some 40K like audiobooks at the time, because I was thinking about things and modeling. And I listened and they just weren't doing it for me. It was very, very monodirectional. It was at you. It wasn't with you.
Gotcha.
It didn't feel like I was part of something. And that just a whole confluence of thoughts came together. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a pilot. I'm going to just write, act, direct, do the audio, work with collaborators on different things from music and voice acting, and see what I can put together. And that led to the release of the first audio drama, which was the Echo of Satellite 66B. And I was like, that was pretty fun. I enjoyed that. Some people who listened to it, they liked it. I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll do another one. This time with no hard-boiled, crime noir, internal monologue. Let's just do something action. And so that became the story of March for Mars, where a group of Imperial Titans are trying to escort a low-flying convoy out of a desert setting as Tyranids attack. And the scales of war just keep escalating and escalating and escalating. And then I said, all right, I've had people's attention for a 20-minute. Let's try something longer. Let's see how long I can keep people's attention and listening to this. And that became When All Lights Have Gone Out, which is a Adepta Sororitas story from M36. And that is when I will say that this changed. After kind of playing with these and having some fun, this is when I started to receive some heavy hitters in terms of voice acting talent. And we put on that production, released it. It was almost an hour long, well received. And then we got 2 nominations at the Audioverse Awards, which are traditionally for just drama and audio fiction. Fan fiction is not included. So exceptions were made to allow us in because of the caliber of the storytelling and the quality of the production design.
I bet you must have felt really proud with that one.
I was over the moon. I don't actually have a background in sound and audio design. I am traditionally a director-publisher. So to be doing a lot of this myself was kind of like, all right, well, let's see how this goes.
Sure.
And with that, it each led to the next creative, but what if? So after Lights was, okay, I did a long one. Let's try Serialized, and released A Cog in Crimson, which is effectively a pilgrimage story of the Mechanicus trying to get across the Great Rift and get back to Mars. And it's very fulfilling. This was the first time actually writing about the faction that I play. I finally felt confident with the lore and the characters. I'm like, all right, let's give this a shot. And each one has just had a natural progression from there. However small, however hidden is our Gene Stealer cult story. And I wanted to say, well, people must be getting tired of my voice. Let me work with another collaborator. And so, reached out and found an excellent co-writer with Stephen Rhodes, who had worked on the Wrath and Glory system. And we worked together on the script and released, and amazing. Egg Trill the Counterfeit Blade, which is our Eldar Necron story. Want to do something with different timelines, and each one has had just the next and then creative impetus to say, well, how do we do something different? How do we do something that we haven't heard or haven't done, and just continue to push that needle forward? And it's been incredibly fulfilling.
It's been a long journey. You said it was about 2 years?
Yeah, we're coming up on the anniversary of 2 years here, just in like about a month and a half.
And to crank out these audio dramas, that's pretty impressive, I gotta say.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say crank out. They do take I will freely admit that the production of a single story, hundreds of hours of work.
Sure.
And they do typically, you will see a gap of 2 to 3 months between each release. But we've always said, if people really like it, it doesn't matter the amount of hits that we're putting out on YouTube, a video every day, a video every week. If you're making something that is art for art's sake, okay, we're making art that and that's what we think of it as art. We're trying to do something creative.
Absolutely.
People will hang around. If they really like it and the quality's there, people will wait. And I don't think that we're conditioned to do that much anymore with, a new season of X just dropped on Netflix. Let me binge the whole thing. and let me I want it in my mouth.
Right.
I want to swallow all of this all at once. And we see that there's a bit of a return to, some networks or some streaming platforms, even some authors and creators going, well, let me, release a little bit at a time. It helps with the production flow. It also helps with keeping an audience on the hook. You can only do it for so long, mind you, with a single story, but it's just been I would say it's really time well spent. I've had such a great time working with everyone and meeting new people as well. And we've been able to get some support. People say, great work. How do I support you? Where's your Patreon? And we go, we don't have one. What we do is we direct all attention to one of our sponsored charities that we have on the website. They're from Canada, the UK, the US, and international as well. And I've gone through hard times myself last year. All of this almost came to an end. But with the support of this community, I was able to kind of find some stability. And I really do see it myself as a way of giving back art, creatively to people who liked what myself and the volunteers and collaborators have been putting together and saying, this is a thank you. This is for everyone who's enjoyed these sort of stories or wanted to hear these stories told. Thank you. I mean, the family endures, the emperor protects, the stories will continue.
That's very cool. Me personally, I have very, very little creativity in my body as of this point in my life. So I have great respect for people like artists who draw amazing Warhammer art and people who write cool lore and what you're doing with the audio dramas. I have great respect for people who can take the Warhammer universe and put their own shine on it.
Well, thank you. And I will freely admit, you can definitely feel that it is 40K or 30K or just Warhammer in general. You can see the trappings there. But what I really enjoy is seeing how people bring their own voice into it. They bring their own style, their own substance of how they're going to tell this. I know I do it with my audio dramas. I have a very particular way of telling stories because these are the sort of stories that I would want to read or listen to. But we also get people who've submitted in short fiction, and you look at them and you go, that is such an interesting or unique take on, on X. Just to pull an example that got some attention recently was the fast fiction contests all revolve around a theme. And so most recently, the one we had was Beneath the Mask. And it all had to do with the idea of changing identities or the physical or metaphorical masks that we wear. And there were some stories in there that really, for me, pushed the idea of what can 40K do? Because we know that it can be war. We know it can be a travel narrative. We know it can be a crime story. I'll unabashedly say, expect more romance in the future, because all of that will end tragically, because it is the setting. But it's just so great to have a setting with Warhammer that you can have all these stories and people's takes on it, and it's a sandbox that you can play in. And Games Workshop has done an impeccable job of just painting out the tapestry, putting all the corner pieces of the puzzle, and then people can come in and put their own. And yeah, not everything's going to be for everyone, and some pieces will work and some pieces won't. But I find far and large, the stuff that we are seeing within this community that we are doing our editorial support with or production on, we're really pulling the best of the best to show that, just because something is fan made doesn't mean that it's subpar. These are intimate perspectives. They are an exercise in writing with brevity, tension, technique. And you can get stories like this for conflicts at a grand scale with Titans, or you can get them in someone's own heart where they're concerned about, a family member who's, what's their relationship with the Imperium or Chaos, and they're afraid of them turning. Because you're not stuck to an editorial mandate of, I must sell X books under this faction, which is selling these models between this quarter and this one. It's just, it allows you to be very creative with trying new things.
Very cool. And for our listeners who are interested and maybe even want to try to, audition or write in their own fan fiction, they can go right on to coldopenstories.com. I like how you do have a guidelines for voice acting, which I've looked at before, because I've thought about it before. I'm not going to lie. I've always found voice acting to be a very interesting career or job. It's a career, it's a job, it's a vocation, it's a calling. I do suggest everyone tries it out. We do have some stuff on there that helps people who are looking to get set up for the first time. The barrier to entry for voice acting now, in terms of the technical components, is as low as it's ever been. Sure, because so easy now. Tech has gotten a whole lot better. I would say that the advice that I still give to people is that voice acting is still acting. Placing that emphasis on who is my character, what circumstance am I in, what is my relationship to the persons or objects or the situation around me, what is my want, these sort of directorship questions for actors. Keep that in mind, because that will come out authentically in your voice and your mannerisms, your manner of speech. And we do have some steps for building a character on the website in our voice acting section. And yeah, we put up the auditions, the call for submissions for our writing stories. You can find all of that on coldopenstories.com. We do suggest people just, pick your favorite social platform and follow us on there for, I will say, more routine, oh, shoot, it just opened. I don't want to be like the last person to submit something, It's definitely great to know when the opportunities arise, so you can give yourself the most time to prepare yourself or to write what you want to write. Very cool. And before we wrap it up, do you have any plugs you'd like to shout out for? Love the show. People should keep listening to you guys. Thanks. I would say, just, I always say it at the end credits for shows, but spread the signal. It's about, if you like something, the best thing you can do for anything is just share it with people that you think would like it. Share in the community that you want to be a part of and to see grow, and, don't be afraid of taking risks and trying something, whether it's voice acting or writing or, just following us online and chatting that way. We'd love to have people participate in some way. Very cool. Colin, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And thank you so much. Down the line, as new stuff comes out, you're more than welcome to come on talk about it. Grand premiere. I see that in flashing lights in the future. So thank you so much. Sure thing, Colin. All right, and we're back, and we're going to close up this episode, unless you guys had anything else specific you want to talk about.
No. In the next one, we might break down the supplement, and maybe go over a game. But this was the preamble. This is probably enough to get us started. We can explain additional rules as they come up.
Sure. And this has actually gotten me really excited. So I'm going to have to start throwing some more Dark Angels together for a basic game.
Guys, I mean, if any of this stuff, if you like the narrative, if you like the RP element that we've seen in past Warhammer games, this is definitely right up your alley. And I love the fact that Andrew Hollis came through with us and Oz30K, did the work. Because I know there were us in the podcast were like, can we do this? Should we do this? But somebody already did, man. Somebody did it, and he did it excellent. So,
and I guess we should plug exactly Oz30K.com, AUS30K.com is where you can find this stuff. You go there, and over on the left, it's under Oz30K Documents, and that's where you'll find the Crusade rules.
And Crusade cards, everything you need to get started there, guys.
Yeah.
But I highly encourage you to play along at home,
Play along at home.
Yeah, get with your friends, do your own Crusades. We'd love to hear how your Crusades go. And we hope you guys stick around and like our Crusade.
Definitely. And before we wrap up, I want to thank all our patrons who make our show possible and keep us doing this every week, or trying to do it every week. Starting with our Praetor tier, Alex Self, Chris Mack, Gardner.Tree of Woe, Jacob Dillon, Joe from Music City Heresy, Luke Rizzuto, Matthew Boyce, Mr. Baldwick, and Nicholas Quenga, and Sar Luther. Our Legion Centurions, Andrew N., Angry Boy, John Christensen, M. Tanzer, Queen Corswain, Scott LeMay, the original Applesauce. And finally, our Legion Sergeants, Aaron Maynard, Duncan, Emily O'Hare, Garrett Lowe, Mr. Sear, Nick Gillen, The Zoy, and What Do I Call Myself? Guys, thank you so much for your patronage.
Andy. Call yourself Andy. I would go with Andy. I think the Andy's a solid handle if you can get it.
It's a good, strong name, and you usually become first in line whenever the teacher calls out.
Oh, that's right. Yes, first in line for the pizza party, boys.
At least in the first 5. You'll get there.
Yeah.
Pick a slices.
That's why they're consistent nemesis with all the errands. Only ones that outrange them.
If you like our podcast, and this is the first time you've listened, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to this podcast. You can join our Discord server with a link in the social shortcuts in this podcast notes. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at RR30K Podcast. You can visit our website, rr30k.com. If you want to become one of those patrons where we can joke about your username, go over to patreon.com/rr30k podcast. There you'll find bonus episodes, including a Necromunda miniseries that we're doing with Jared, Underhive Confidential. So if you're interested in Necromunda, check that out. You can also follow our Instagram at remembrancers_retreat. And I think that's everything.
Yeah. I mean, that Necromunda series, also great for narrative.
Yes, absolutely. So hopefully you find some inspiration there. We go over the basically the basics of Necromunda. If you've never played it before, we go through the different types of units and stuff, and it's pretty insightful. And we're going to start talking battle reports there pretty soon as well. And so with that, again, thanks for listening. Will, Lancaster Painting? No, it's Forgebreaker Painting now, isn't it?
Yes, Forgebreaker Painting. Yep. Find me on Instagram and Facebook.
There you go.
I got some pretty big Necromunda stuff coming up.
Oh, that's exciting.
Physically big. Yeah.
Ooh. All right, then. Until next time, keep those dice rolling. Catch you later.
Bye, kids.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.